Are you ready to transform your organization's approach to safety and create a truly secure work environment? Implementing ISO 45001 can seem daunting, but it doesn't have to be. If you miss the crucial steps, yes, you risk a fragmented system that doesn't effectively protect your people in your business. But by mastering the implementation process, you'll gain the blueprint to build a robust and compliant occupational health and safety management system. In this video, we're going to break down the key stages of implementing the ISO 45001 standard. We'll answer critical questions about where to start, what processes you need to establish, and how to ensure your system is effective and sustainable. Based on proven implementation methodologies that we use in our own consulting practice, we'll provide you with a clear roadmap. So stick around. Your guide to ISO 45000 implementation is coming up. I remember our team working with a company that was eager to improve their safety record, but they were overwhelmed by the requirements in the ISO 45001 standard. They tried to tackle everything at once, leading to confusion and frustration. It wasn't until we broke down the implementation into manageable steps, focusing on building a solid foundation first, that they started to see the real progress. In fact, in our practice, we use a gigantic project plan, but it is structured in different sections. And so we go about through each section. Now, there might be some overlapping, but still it is very structured, and it helps a company progress through the stages as they understand more the requirements of the standard. So what are these essential steps that you need to take to effectively implement an ISO 45001 occupational health and safety management system? Let's walk through them. First, we need to understand the context and the leadership commitment. The first step is going to be to understand the context of the organization, its internal and external issues that can affect its ability to achieve its intended outcome, which might be to produce a product or provide a service, but at the same time to look out for the safety of the employees. This step is very important because it involves leadership participating and recognizing what are the issues. Top management must demonstrate their support also to establish their safety policy and their organizational roles. If you don't have the top management buy-in, it's going to be very difficult to go through the next steps because you're going to be given different tasks that are going to be in conflict to the main task, which is to get certified. Or the next crucial step is to identify your main processes. No matter what standard you are trying to implement, at Mireaux, one of the first steps on any implementation, in this case the second, is to identify the processes that will be part of your management system, in this case your occupational health and safety management system. This is very important for us. There needs to be clarity on which processes are part of the OH&S management system, and it needs to be simple and understandable. Do not make a process map that looks like the PDCA chart, but also don't make a process map that looks like all these spaghettis and all these vines that nobody really knows what happens and what goes where. It should be very clear what processes will be included on your occupational health and safety management system, and it needs to be recognizable which are your core processes and which are your support processes, which we call it the main process map. It is the foundation for everything, and for this reason we consider it very important. Next, you have to plan the hazard identification and the risk assessment. This is the cornerstone of ISO 45001. You need to systematically identify hazards and assess the associated risk and opportunities, and determine also your legal and other requirements related to occupational health and safety. This planning phase will influence your objectives and how you will achieve them. Now, how do you do this? You might have spreadsheets, you might have a software like on WebQMS OH&S, we have a risk assessment, hazard identification application, but you may also have just a spreadsheet, like I said, and you'll be able to do that. Now, the next step is to establish objectives and how you will achieve them. So based on your risk assessment, now you need to establish some measurable safety objectives at relevant functions, not really just the HSE department or not just the HR or safety department, really all the functions of your organization. We're talking about quality, sales, engineering. Everybody should have some OH&S objectives. You also need to plan how these objectives will be achieved, including timeline, responsibilities, and the required resources. Use the SMART process for coming up with your objectives also. Next, you also want to make sure that you have all your support processes in place. I'm talking about the resources, competencies of your employees, awareness, and communication. A successful implementation requires the right supporting processes. So this includes providing the resources, ensuring you're hiring the right employees, that you have the roles and responsibilities towards safety all well laid out. So we shouldn't just have the HSE department or the safety department job descriptions, but everybody should play now a role in your OH&S management system. Therefore, everybody's job titles or job descriptions should have some safety responsibilities. And also, you will establish here internal and external communication process related to your occupational health and safety. Now, you also want to have your documented information, and if you have procedures, then you want to review all of them to see if there is any elements of safety or occupational health and safety that you want to add to them. By all means, you're going to have some procedures that are just for occupational health and safety, but you may even look at other procedures like your procurement, like engineering procedures, even quality, because all of them will really need to look at from the lens of the safety, right? Are we looking at safety of our employees? Are we looking at the safety of our suppliers? Or are the suppliers part taking in consideration the safety of our employees or the supplier materials or the supplier activities, right? Now, the next step is to actually implement and control the processes. So this is where you will put all your plans into action, and you'll need to establish operational controls to manage those risks that you identify, those hazards that you identify. This will include those procedures and work instructions that we were talking about. Also, it will include emergency preparedness and response plans and controls for outsourced processes as well. Next, you want to have your performance evaluation, right? You want to monitor, measure, analyze, and evaluate if everything is working and if your system is actually improving. So implementing the system was just the beginning. Now you need to establish processes for monitoring and measuring your safety performance, analyzing the data, evaluating how effective it was. This will also include your internal audits and your management reviews, which lead us to the next step, which is the internal audit. The internal audit is really a tool for continual improvement. It isn't just a compliant exercise. It is also a vital tool for identifying weaknesses, for verifying the effectiveness of everything that you have put in place, and to ensure that people understand that all you want is to continually improve in their safety performance. Think of it as a health check for the safety management system. When it comes to the audit itself, thought of planning is key. So this includes defining the audit scope, developing a plan, and preparing the audit criteria based on the ISO 45001 standard and your organization's specific processes. During the audit, focus on gathering objective evidence through observations, interviews, and documentation. You may also need to do review of your compliance obligations, and this might be a separate exercise, but definitely important. And the last step is to address nonconformities, and this is what's going to drive you to continual improvement. ISO 45001, just like any other standard, is all about continual improvement. So you need to have the processes in place to address the non-conformities that were raised from the audit, or maybe action items raised from your management review. And you want to take those actions or corrective actions so that you can actually improve your occupational health and safety management system. Successfully implementing ISO 45001 is a significant step towards creating a safer and more responsible organization. Gaining a comprehensive understanding of both the ISO 45001 standard as well as the internal audit process is fundamental in creating a truly safe and compliant workplace. If you're ready to take this crucial journey and gain a clear step-by-step understanding of the implementation process, I invite you to enroll on our next ISO 45001 implementation course or ISO 45001 internal auditor course. You'll receive detailed guidance and practical tools that we use ourselves when we consult for other companies. You'll find all the course information and registration details in the description below. Thank you, and like or subscribe for more information related to ISO and API standards.